A Nebraska city walled off by massive flooding is getting a big lift from private pilots who are offering free flights to shuttle stranded residents to and from their hometown. After a weekend with no road access to the outside world, officials in Fremont said they still don't know when any will reopen. Good afternoon, I'm Colin Gurney.
And I'm Ellie Brecht. Coming up, we take a look at the floods in another city in Nebraska, and we hear from Governor Pete Ricketts about the flood damages.
All this and more on the Omaha News.
From the studios of UNO Television, this is the Omaha News, presented by UNO School of Communication.
The flooding in the Midwest has caught the attention of everyone, including celebrities. Justin Timberlake and Larry the Cable Guy both have donated a portion of their proceeds from their shows to the flood relief.
The floods have devastated numerous counties in Nebraska. Reporter Megan Alexander is live at our live table to explore the damage in Plattsmouth, Nebraska.
Amid a chilly dampness that has become all too familiar in these parts, Vice President Mike Pence delivered a message. America is here for Nebraska. During a 3-hour visit that included an aerial survey of floodwaters and meetings with first responders and victims, Pence said the federal government will expedite disaster relief in response to the historic flooding that has affected much of the Midwest. This offers relief to Plattsmouth members. A historic snowy winter has turned into record-spraying flooding across a wide area in the Midwest. The Missouri River had a peaking flood level of 47.5 feet in different areas throughout Nebraska, breaking previous records by 4 feet. Plattsmouth resident Brad said the community came together to prepare for the flood coming.
We started sandbagging. We actually went over to somebody's beach and just started pulling sand off of their beach and filling sandbags. And the golf course had some sand, and so they offered that up, and we went over there and we filled somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 sandbags. At some point you realize you've done all you probably can, and so you just wait and you watch, and the water just keeps rising. It's really just a helpless feeling because there's nothing you can do to stop that.
Flood damage across Nebraska has reached $700 million in loss. According to NEMA, the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency, the current impact of flooding in Nebraska has reached $205,494,325. And the private impact has reached $59,745,590. Plattsmouth resident Ray Herrick worked together with Brad and predicts more water is coming.
But from what we hear, there's a lot more snow melt coming down from the Dakotas and Montana, and talked to a buddy up in Colorado and said a lot of their snow melt's going to make it to the south on the North Platte. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet.
Despite all the loss, Plattsmouth residents remain hopeful and are working hard to get the area cleaned up. To donate to flood victims, visit redcross.org. Colin, Ellie, back to you.
Thanks, Megan. Nearly 200 National Guard troops were activated to come to the rescue of many who have been affected by the recent flooding that struck Nebraska. Governor Pete Ricketts was present in the UNO TV studios on Monday night to visit with Chancellor Gold as well as others in regards to the natural disaster. The state of Nebraska has been devastated by the tragedy that the recent bomb cyclone has done to the land, livestock, and for many Nebraskans' livelihood of all they know. 77 of Nebraska's 93 counties declared a state of emergency, getting the national government heavily involved in the tragedy that washed Nebraska dry of so much, including 3 confirmed deaths. Although the federal government has been and continues to be of extreme help during this time, Governor Pete Ricketts says it is the Nebraskans themselves who are coming together through all of this that is so impactful. What may be the silver lining in it all?
What I'll remember most is the resilience of the people of Nebraska. Whether it's our first responders, our EMTs, law enforcement, volunteer, all these folks that have worked so hard to keep Nebraskans safe and working long hours to do it.
Ricketts also emphasized the importance in getting the word out to ensure all Nebraskans that they are not in this fight alone.
Able to help let Nebraskans know that we've got their backs. There's going to be people out there that are supporting them, whether it's here in the state or nationally. We really have seen a tremendous outpouring of support, and we're going to have a long road to recovery. There's no doubt about that.
The bomb cyclone helped produce Nebraska's worst flooding in 50 years. The damage done will take years to recover from for some, if not most, who were affected. Ricketts believes that the state will persevere.
We'll get through this as Nebraskans do, and that's by sticking together.
The Nebraska Emergency Management Agency has established a hotline for those who have been affected to help answer any questions. The hotline can be reached at 402-817-1551.
Coming up, over 250 million people use streaming services. We look at how people can stay safe during extreme conditions without the proper alerts.
Many Omaha residents are popping tires and throwing out their alignments of their cars from hitting the huge craters in the streets. One reporter looks at what it's like to dodge potholes.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Your MAV card is your ticket. Don't lose it.
Ticket? Ticket to what?
It's your ticket to tremendous entertainment. Like the UNO Art Gallery. They host amazing art shows, lectures, and the Writers' Workshop reading series. We can go to the Strauss Performing Arts Center, where we can experience live music. Or maybe the theater, where they host 4 productions a year.
Your MAV card is your ticket. Where will it take you?
At the Chris Library, helping you is the priority. Here, librarians can help students find resources for the information they need. Or students can visit the Creative Production Lab, where they're able to do 3D printing and so much more. They can also buy food and drinks at the library cafe, visit the library's archive, or find a place to study on any one of the 3 floors. Chris Library, how can it help you?
Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Robinson. I teach Writers' Workshop 1500, Introduction to Creative Writing. If you take the course, you can expect to become a better reader, writer, and thinker, but learn a great deal about the world and to learn a great deal about yourself. Please join us.
You've always known you were a leader, someone who works hard to achieve your goals. You can see it. You can see your success in front of you. You pursue a college education for the old-fashioned reasons, to learn, to make yourself more valuable, to succeed. You need a place that celebrates your ambition and positions you alongside visionary people just like you. You, my friend, belong here, the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
This is the Omaha News.
Omaha experienced a record amount of potholes this year. The mayor's hotline received nearly 4,000 requests to fill potholes, and the city has filled over 1,200 work orders. Reporter Charlotte Riley shows us how it has affected Omaha residents and their cars.
Streets in Omaha were treated with salt 26 times this winter, about twice the usual amount. Salt eats concrete and left craters like these all over the city.
The potholes lining Omaha's streets are forcing residents to make a tough decision: swerve or face the consequences.
I was heading toward campus for a fraternity meeting, just didn't see the pothole out of nowhere, and I heard like a thump.
Terrell's tire had a gaping hole and cost $200 to replace. He fears the roads may be a barrier for fellow commuter students.
It does suck as a commuter student, but it's, I really hope they fix that pothole sooner than later.
Students aren't the only ones facing difficulties. The road in front of Omaha resident Lee Ridgway's home is dotted with large potholes.
I've called my council person and voiced my opinion on it, but it kind of falls on deaf ears.
The poor driving conditions has caused some Omaha roads, such as the street through Elmwood Park, to close.
If we want some entertainment at my house, all we have to do is shut the TV off, look out the window, and watch the cars come down the street. And it sounds like explosions.
Lee Cattleman, an employee of Lyle's Tires and Wheels, says business has tripled.
We've had a couple people come in and they've talked to us about, they blew out a tire on their vehicle, went and had to put their spare on, drove another 10 feet, hit another pothole, blew out the spare.
Road repairs have begun, but they were initially delayed due to snow. Cattlemen expect steady work until the potholes are filled.
I mean, we'll get to about 2, 3 o'clock, and I'll try and squeeze stuff in, but it's usually booked till the end of the day.
Vehicles damaged by potholes from January to March 18th may be eligible for reimbursement. Criteria is published on the City of Omaha website.
Mayor Gene Stoffer authorized an exemption to the city's decades-old policy of denying pothole claims because they were unable to get out and fill the holes due to the weather. After March 18th, claims will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Colin, Ellie, back to you.
Thanks, Charlotte. The United States Department of Veteran Affairs reports that there were more than 6,000 military veteran suicides each year from 2008 to 2016. A local chapter of a national nonprofit organization helps veterans cope with their trauma by teaching them how to play the guitar. Guitars for Vets holds practices at Bellevue University's Military Veteran Services Center. Groups of veterans learn to play guitar in a 10-week program and receive their own guitar and accessories once they graduate. Peggy Ullum, Omaha chapter coordinator and instructor for Guitars for Vets, says that learning to play a stringed instrument helps veterans struggle.
These instruments really allow you to go to a very calming place when you're maybe dealing with anxiety or struggling with alcohol or whatever. You pick up your guitar. We even had somebody say, I haven't touched a drink since I started playing guitar.
Says that the Omaha chapter performs at local events to raise money and awareness, but also to provide emotional support to the veterans and give them chances to show off their skills. Guitars for Vets Omaha will be performing on Friday, April 5th from 7:30 to 10:30 in the upcoming Salute to Military Members, Veterans, and First Responders at the CHI Health Center.
If you're one of the many ditching cable and switching to streaming services, there's been a debate whether or not these platforms should implement these alerts for users. Reporter Phil Lemon finds out why it is important to have these alerts for people who do not have cable television.
With over 60 million Netflix users in the U.S. alone, it's surprising that streaming services have not added an emergency alert system.
That's 20% of the population. It's a huge group that could potentially be missing out on life-saving information. Even a few minutes warning can mean the difference of getting to your basement or not in terms of safety.
Students get alerts from UNO on their devices, but what if an emergency struck while they're streaming a show?
The main reason most companies wouldn't do it would be the cost that would involved to put this into their systems. And plus, the other challenge is what might be if an emergency in Omaha may not be an emergency in Denver. So there'd have to be some system in that national Netflix stream where they could deviate that.
The question begging many is how easy would it be to execute this proposal, and why hasn't it been done? It's something that needs to be considered as technology continues to consume us.
Yeah, I definitely think it'd be really beneficial to have emergency alerts on streaming services just because I don't even use cable, so I wouldn't hear about it if I'm not watching TV. So streaming services would be a great idea.
You can get alerts on your phone if there's something happening like an Amber Alert or a weather alert. I think it's about time that streaming services, Hulu, Netflix, the like, should be able to do that.
There's no telling when streaming services will add these alerts, but one has to think that it will happen eventually.
Coming up, we head over to our sports team to take a look at men's baseball and women's volleyball.
Next, we see how the women's softball team is keeping morale alive after numerous losses.
All this and more on the Omaha News.
Hi, my name is Dr. Adam Tima. I'm an associate professor here in the School of Communication, and I want to talk to you really quick about JMC 1500, Introduction to Journalism and Media Communication. We talk about the history of media, we talk about the current issues going on with journalism and the media and how it affects you every day. It's a gen ed course, so you have to take care of one of those, or you're interested in looking at the media, or you want to see what the School of Communication is all about, I encourage you to check out JMC 1500. Hope to see you in there.
Alex is your average UNO student. She goes to class, does her homework, and studies hard. She does everything to make sure she excels, except
a flu shot. I don't need a flu shot. I never get sick.
Be smarter than Alex. Call the UNO Health Center at 402-554-2374 to set up an appointment whenever you are sick or injured. Students can receive free primary care so you can quickly return to being 100%.
I never thought I'd be standing in the clouds looking down on the ancient ruins of the Incan Empire. I never thought I'd live among the street artists in Valparaiso. I never thought I'd make friends that would last a lifetime.
Adventure's out there, and as Mavericks, it's up to us to find it.
Stop thinking, start doing. Visit educationabroad.unomaha.edu.
So I have a test on Tuesday and a 10-page essay due Wednesday. I have to help set up my sorority's bake research paper due essay tomorrow. I'll do by tomorrow. Wednesday. Research for 7 grade.
Don't let fear and worry build up inside you. Visit the Counseling and Psychological Services office here on the UNO campus. Students can receive 8 to 10 confidential counseling sessions free of charge. Sign up for your first appointment today.
As a student, it's good to know you have support wherever you go. To have a simple and direct way of seeing that next assignment. To have an easy way of knowing where you're headed to next. Or just how quickly you're going to get there. The UN Omaha app is everything a student needs, just a tap away. Download it today on the App Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Omaha Sports. I'm your host, Phil Lemon. Omaha softball was finally able to play in front of a home crowd when they hosted an impressive South Dakota State team that has only lost 7 games thus far. Reporter Justin Keys takes a look at how the softball team is pitching up this season.
UNO softball hosted their first home games of the year this past weekend in a conference opening doubleheader against the South Dakota State Jackrabbits on Friday and another game on Saturday afternoon. The roller coaster weekend began with Omaha dropping both games on Friday. They lost the first game 1-4 and the second game 1-8. Saturday's game was much more hard-fought. Despite the Jackrabbits' 6-run effort in the top of the 7th to boost SDSU to another win and a regular season sweep of the Mavericks, SDSU's explosive bats and multiple home runs made it very difficult for UNO to make a comeback, but several players had themselves a good day on the diamond both defensively and offensively.
I think there's always a lot of positives that we could keep building on. I think the biggest thing is us to be consistent with those positives and keep building from that and keep, getting better and better as we go.
UNO freshman Janae Cameron had the biggest impact for the Mavericks on Saturday. She had herself 1 home run and 3 RBIs at the plate. Junior Emma Dargy also had a nice weekend for Omaha as she homered once on Friday and was solid at third base all weekend. UNO is now 2-27 overall with an 0-3 conference record following this weekend's series with South Dakota State. The Mavericks have just 12 remaining games on their regular season schedule. Coach Eberhardt and company will look to bounce back this weekend in another home series against conference foe North Dakota with a doubleheader on Saturday and another game on Sunday. For the Omaha News, I'm Justin Keys.
In a down year for the Summit League Conference, featuring only 3 teams with winning records, UNO looks to turn things around before the conference tournament begins next month in May. As we see temperatures rise, we are also able to see more action on the diamond. The Omaha baseball team dominated their 3-game series this past weekend as they opposed Purdue Fort Wayne here in Omaha. The Mavs garnered an 11-4 win on Friday when they extended their win streak to 8 games. In the Friday victory, Braden Rogers paced Omaha as he went 3 for 5 from the plate, including a 2-run home run. Saturday consisted of a 6-1 victory as senior pitcher Peyton Kinney improved his record to 5-0 on the season after throwing 8 innings. Senior Ben Polensky added 3 hits as well as a double to lead the Mavericks at the plate. On Sunday, the Mavericks demolished the Mastodons as they held Fort Wayne to 0 runs and had 26 of their own. This victory also gave Omaha their 10th consecutive win. Last night, Omaha traveled south to Wichita, Kansas to face Wichita State in a head-to-head matchup. The Mavs fell to the Shockers, losing 2-12 despite Braden Eckhout's first career home run. The loss gave Omaha their current overall record 14-6-1. They return to action on Friday in a home series versus Western Illinois that will be played at Seymour Smith Park. Winter seemed to last from December until early March this year, but now that temperatures are finally above freezing, high school baseball has started around the metro. There's nothing that reminds us of summer quite like the sound of a baseball hitting a metal bat, and although it doesn't feel like summer yet, baseball season has started for high schools around the state. With snow on the ground less than 2 weeks ago, many fields are still recovering and are barely playable. In fact, most teams didn't get to go outside to practice before their first game. Omaha Westside, Creighton Prep, and Bellevue West each have turf baseball fields, which helped get them in the first games of the season before the dirt fields were able to be played. With the spring baseball season lasting from the middle of March into mid-May, games that were postponed only made the season shorter.
Yeah, so the weather has kind of delayed everything for us here this spring with all the snow. It's nice to finally get out, even though it's still a little bit chilly, but yeah, we're just looking forward to being able to go out and play, get back on the field, even though it's still a little wet.
Men's basketball's very own Zach Jackson has been obtaining many accolades since the ending of his senior season. However, potentially the most impressive was announced this past week. Jackson was selected to play in the Dos Equis 3-on-3 National Championship April 5th through 7th at the NCAA Men's Final Four tournament in Minneapolis. The volleyball team kicks off their spring season this upcoming Saturday as they face Kansas State and Iowa in a tournament here in Omaha this Saturday. This will be the first competition for the Mavs since longtime head coach Rose Shires recently stepped down. That's all we have for Omaha sports. Ellie, Colin, back to you.
Thanks, Phil. Coming up, we look at a scandal that happened with student government elections.
Next, we find out how online shopping has become mainstream and is shutting down local malls.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Here at the home of UNO Theater, you can pursue your passion. Whether you crave set design, stage managing a production, acting in plays or musicals, being a part of the lighting crew, or working with professional directors. Here, you can unleash your creative spirit. The theater begins with you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Joshua Kearney, and I'm the conductor of the University Concert Band here at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. The University Concert Band is an ensemble made up of primarily non-music majors. The ensemble meets twice per week for 50 minutes and gives 2 concerts per semester. It's a very low-pressure environment, very social, and very fun and engaging. We hope that you consider making music with us. Go Mavs!
Store closings across Omaha may seem hurtful to the economy, but that is not always the case. Reporter Lillian Griffith shows Omaha residents another side to stores closing their doors for the final time.
It's closing time for stores Abercrombie & Fitch, Victoria's Secret, and Sears, leaving malls empty, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Here at the Crossroads Mall, all these stores are gone, and what it's led to is actually city planning and developing.
Arthur Halberslaben, a former Abercrombie & Fitch employee, thinks it's important to remove malls for development across the metro.
With Midtown Crossing, how they brought in all those new condos and those businesses, and it completely revitalized the area and brought in traffic and made the community better. Same thing happening in the Blackstone district.
Just because consumers aren't going to malls, it doesn't mean they aren't purchasing anything.
We're seeing more retailers really focus in on their direct-to-consumer and e-commerce sites or online shopping.
Malls across the metro are emptying, but renovation plans for Crossroads and Westroads have already begun. The consumer will have to stay home to shop, but there are more options for activities.
I prefer online shopping. It's mostly about convenience. I really don't have a whole lot of time.
There are less and less shoppers in the metro. Some believe Omaha never really had a market in the first place.
I think growing up and living in Omaha, you don't really have access to a whole lot of variety when it comes to fashion.
For the Omaha News, I'm Lillian Griffith.
Developers haven't decided what exactly they are going to replace the Crossroads Mall with, but Omaha residents should see development in the next 2 years.
UNO held a public hearing on March 25th to determine the winner of the student president election. The election was held on March 13th. The candidates were Aya Yusuf with Jabin Moore and Cade Walcott with Hannah Keeter. The public hearing took place because a grievance was filed over the candidates' budgets. Both candidates were given the chance to speak about their budgets, and the main topic of discussion was fair market value.
Basically, in the election rules, they outline that candidates have to submit a budget based on the fair market value of the products and services that they buy. So this is kind of where there's a little bit of a gray area in the rules.
The point of contention was Yusuf and Moore having a friend take their photos without charge. Walcott and Keeter argued that fair market value should apply to the photos and count towards their budget. After about 30 minutes of private discussion, the election committee ruled that Yusuf would not be disqualified and her victory would stand.
University transportation provides safe and timely routes for the UNO students. However, after the shuttles stop running at the end of the day, students are left to find their own transportation late at night. A new shuttle has been added to the system to help solve that problem. Students and faculty members will now have a late night shuttle option for transportation between UNO's Dodge campus and Scott campus. The floater shuttle officially began its routes earlier this week. The shuttle runs from 9 p.m. to midnight, stopping at Mammal Hall, Maverick Landing, and Chris Library every 20 minutes. The floater shuttle is also ADA accessible. UNO students are excited to finally have this flexible option after requesting it for a long time.
Knowing that there's going to be a later shuttle kind of helps me out with wanting to study a little later and having a ride back to my dorm.
Shuttle users are advised to download the UNO Shuttle app to access all information regarding routes, location, and times of arrival. That's all we have for today. Be sure to come back next week for more and exciting stories on the Omaha News.
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at UNO the Omaha News, or find our website for even more news and stories at unomahanews.com.
From all of us here at UNO Television, thanks for watching.
We will see you next week.
Maverick Sports News has grown up. Mav Radio's First Warning is streaming live to show you the best and worst of the sports world. With analyst DK Kellogg, host Ray Cook, and the whole First Warning crew. Where will you be when the warning sounds?
Social media can be fun, but it can also be a powerful tool. At the UNO Social Media Lab, we work together to advance our understanding of social media and technology on the UNO campus and beyond with research application services such as real-time social media tracking, social media listening, and assistance on how to work with first-party social media tools such as Twitter and Instagram analytics. We have also consulted and collaborated with communities in Nebraska to help them leverage social media to work for their communities.
Coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, faded brass to a full.
The University of Nebraska at Omaha is a place for tomorrow's leaders. A place where individuals converge on a path to success, getting the attention and direction they need as they begin their career. It's where students take pride in serving Omaha, a city we've invested in for more than 100 years. UNO is a place where greatness begins. The University of Nebraska at Omaha.